All you can eat buffet workers, what are your horror stories? Years ago, I worked at an all you can eat country buffet in South Carolina. I was a busboy. One day, I went to a table. It was a mess. As per usual, it looked to be a large family group of families of around 12 people or so. The thing that stuck it in my memory is that whenever they had finished with what they were going to eat, they would scrape their plate and use it again. Scrape their plates onto the floor next to their chairs. So next to each chair, there was a 6-inch to 18-inch pile of chicken bones, crab legs, mashed potatoes, remnants of baked potatoes, etc. Just disgusting. A woman came in with 2 of her kids and had a pretty regular meal. You pay when you leave at our place. And she decided to sneak out with her younger daughter before paying, leaving her underage son alone at the table. We caught on pretty quick and sent someone after her, who found her in her car in the parking garage, waiting for her son to come as well. She refused to come back in and pay, so we had to keep her son hostage until the police came to handle the situation. What some people will do to their kids, I swear. My first job was as a dishwasher in an all-you-can-eat fried catfish buffet. People are animals, especially the ones that get far more food off the buffet than they can eat. Then they take the leftovers and pile them on a plate or tray, cover in ketchup and tartar sauce, then pour their iced tea over the top of all that. A lot of people did that, got at least 2 plates like that a night. Went as a customer to a Golden Corral. I'm walking to the chocolate fountain and 3 little girls step in front of me, and all 3 of them just go hands deep in the fountain. The family was the first table by the fountain and all they did was laugh about how cute it was. Employees turned it off immediately. At least they turned it off, and I'm assuming didn't let anyone eat it anymore. Or what? 3 girls contaminating the chocolate fountain. How cute. My parents owned an all-you-can-eat buffet and I was there every day of my life from 4-14. My favorite horror story is when a couple came in to eat, obviously. They love-eared the crab legs and every time my mom puts them out, they took it all. Also, just a reminder, crab legs are expensive. Forget the other customers. They just took it and ate it all. So they're there for maybe 2 hours now and it's getting dark. They've eaten through at least a week's stock of crab legs and my mom finally decides it's enough. She stops putting it out in the buffet and brings individual plates to the customers who wanted it but couldn't get any due to this couple. Understandably, the couple is angry. They literally flipped the chairs at their table, flipped their plates, bowls, cups, etc. and completely trashed their area. Food was all over the floor, table, chairs. Sticky soda was dripping into the carpet. They left in a hurry, but someone caught their license plate. We called the cops and I think they said they charged them with something. I can't remember the aftermath details clearly, because I was probably 8 or 9 years old, 20 now. I just remember looking at the mess and feeling really angry that my sister and I had to clean it up with our mom. It was a family-run business, so we didn't have much help. Anyways, that's my horror story. The end. Buffet where I live got shut down for serving coyote meat and labeling it as other meats. A place near me got busted last year for trapping seagulls on the roof and passing it off as chicken. At one point myself and 2 other family members worked at a Golden Corral, each in different sections, because small towns don't have a lot of job options for high school college kids. I worked in the bakery, which was surprisingly low in horror stories other than the chaos that remained after a large group of children came through. My brother worked the steak station. He got these regulars that would tip him pretty well if he would prepare blue steaks for them. The very idea of ordering blue steaks from a buffet makes me gag. My cousin worked the salad bar. Management would require her to keep seafood items on the bar for long after the point where they'd be safe to consume. I think the record was chilled shrimp from Mother's Day that stayed for over a week and a half. They finally caved and let her toss them when a customer complained about the smell. You got everyone talking about blue steak. Meanwhile, week and a half old shrimp on the bar. So I work in an all-you-can-eat using tablets. This is, according to my boss, based on a Japanese kind of restaurant. We serve, mostly, Asian food. from Chinese to Japanese and even some Korean. The premise is that people order their food in rounds and we then bring the food to their table when it is ready. We always warn customers beforehand that if they leave food behind because they ordered too much, they will have to pay extra, depending on what they left behind. We have seen people try the weirdest stuff if it comes to not paying extra. People dumping food in their handbags, to people shoving it in their mouths then go to the toilet and flush it, to putting hair on it and blaming us for it. We see them pull this stuff, etc. And when we actually catch them doing it, they blame us for it and refuse to pay. Some people let it come down to the police to sort it out sometimes. There have been multiple occasions on which they were involved to solve the problem for just €5. I guess some people's greed has no extent. Not mine, but I had a buddy who was 400 plus lbs. And the dude could put away some food. He went to a casino buffet that was one of the higher end ones that had crab legs and steak. On about his 4th or 5th plate stacked full of crab legs, the manager came out and gave him $250 in free slot play to leave the buffet. Would have been sick if he held out for more. F you talking about boss. I'm just getting started. I'm going surf turf this moth affair into the ground unless I see 4 of those vouchers. Not a worker, but I went to hometown buffet and the kid in front of me was slightly shorter than the buffet bar but had his hands in the yellow jello just massaging it. Then his mom came by and snatched him away but didn't say anything while a guy came and made himself a bowl of jello. 10 years old me was too appalled to say anything. I haven't eaten jello since then. The jello looked tense. He was just helping a brother out. Not a worker, but I was at a Chinese buffet with the hot pot option that you had to pay extra for. There was a separate section with the stuff for that which was raw. This guy loaded up his plate with all this raw stuff and was eating it, including dangerous raw stuff like shrimp. I think he may have been slightly intellectually disabled. The Chinese staff had to come over and inform him that he was eating the wrong things and try to explain it to him. He got really embarrassed and said that he did not understand how it worked. Between the Chinese staff with their limited English and this poor guy who was not capable of really understanding what he had done wrong, it was one of those awkward moments in a life that you cannot forget no matter how much you try. I had a co-worker that briefly managed Orions buffet. He said that it was fairly common for people to gorge themselves, then purge in the restroom and start eating again so that they could get their money's worth. Not a buffet, but I worked at a pizza parlor that offered a lunch buffet of endless pizza. The lunch ran from 11 AM 3 PM. This gentleman comes in. I think he was homeless. He serves up a sky-high plate of pizza and just goes to town. He stayed from the beginning to the very end to make sure he got his money's worth. Well, his body didn't appreciate being stuffed like a pinata of pizza. He got up, waddled fast to the bathroom, and next thing I know I'm being told he had liquids trailing behind him to the bathroom and inside the bathroom. I was informed by my boss about the incident. I told him I was just heading out for a break. I was not about to clean that up. Picked up some fish and chips recently. Saw they had all you can eat on Wednesdays. So I asked what is the most that someone. 18 pieces of fish and 3 plates. She held up this huge platter of fries every single Wednesday. So he eats that exact order every week? Yes. And he goes to a different all you can eat every day of the week. He got banned from the Chinese place down the road. I worked at a Ruby Tuesday in Center City, Philly, first floor of the Liberty Place building. I had a couple that would come in about twice a week that requested me. They would gorge themselves at the salad bar for about an hour. Ask for large glasses of water with no ice. Then both would take the water into the bathroom. They would come out a few minutes later with empty glasses. Ask for the check and leave. I finally put it together that they were bulimic after I walked in the women's bathroom and it smelled like vomit. Very polite folks and tipped well though. Not an employee. But once I saw someone using their shirt as a bag and filled it with BBQ chicken wings. You promised me you wouldn't tell anyone. I managed a buffet in a casino in Reno for a few months. Had this family come in. Mom, dad, 2 little kids. I get called over to the table because the mom had thrown up on her plate table and wanted us to take it away and clean it up. I asked if she was okay, and she said she always throws up when she eats cheese. She had gotten herself an enchilada. It was Mexican theme night. WTF lady. Enchiladas pretty much always have cheese. I told her I would have to call janitorial because none of my staff was trained to handle biohazards. She didn't understand why I couldn't just take it. Janitorial came in and couldn't clean up because she refused to move from the table. So janitorial left. She calls me back over and starts yelling at me. Dad starts yelling too. Apparently she wanted to keep eating after throwing up, which I thought was really gross. I had them sit at another table so they could all keep eating. Janitorial came back and cleaned the other table. Finally they go to leave and decide to make a huge scene in front of the whole restaurant and demand their money back. I refuse. Dad gets in my face and starts shouting that I'm just a racist white bee and his wife makes loads more money than I do. I call security and they storm out, pulling pictures off the wall and shattering them on the floor. And Dad also picked up a vase and broke it. The two kids are running around and banging on the walls. Security finally shows up after they ran off. I have to do a report. And they were put on the refusing service list. I hate people. At one point I worked for a pizza place that used to have a day buffet that I would make pizzas for. One time two huge dudes come in the moment we open for the buffet. The manager on duty dropped the first two pizzas down on the buffet. Turned to grab the next two. Turned back and both pizzas were gone. A few minutes later both dudes walk back up and each take an entire pizza again and walk back to continue eating. They proceeded to do this over and over, grabbing an entire pizza each for themselves for the entire 3 hours we were offering the buffet. Was one hell of a day. Dominance established. I didn't work at an all-you-can-eat, but my sister did. The buffet itself was on the first floor, so you had to take either the stairs or the elevator to your seat. Once there was a lady who was carrying a tray with a whole lot of stuff on it, glasses, plates and a whole lot more of junk. My sister asked the lady if she needed any assistance, to which the lady replied, "You assume because I'm fat I need help?" My sister didn't react. A few seconds later the lady fell down the stairs. There was blood and food everywhere. I worked as a server at a Chinese buffet and four things came to mind instantly. A middle-aged woman puked on her table and blamed it on giving herself the wrong insulin dose. The 4 mountains of food she destroyed probably contributed to. Profusely apologized and tipped me $1. I tried to pick up a dirty plate off a table that had a big pool of hibachi sauce grease on it. The customer stopped me and said that's the best part. Then proceeded to drink the sauce like it was the milk after a bowl of cereal. A young mother complained to me because the crab meat and cheese that we serve on the buffet made her child sick and they threw up. Her child was an infant, not even a year old. I'm no child care expert, but baked artificial crab meat and mozzarella can't be good for a baby. The restaurant was raided by ICE one morning shortly before opening. The entire back of the house and one of our managers were deported. Back of the house was 1 stroke to Chinese and 1 stroke to Latin American. College friend worked at a Chinese buffet. He said they caught a regular dipping his pizza in the wonton soup bowl, like in the queue and not at his table, and eating it. Bite. Dip. Bite. Dip. Bite. Dip. After the 4th time in a month he did it, management finally kicked him out. The classic 4 strikes and you're out. I was once at an old country buffet, waiting patiently to get some mac cheese. The kid in front of me plied his plate high, and then started tapping the serving spoon to get all of the chessy goodness free from the confines of the spoon. Once he was satisfied with his handiwork, he licked the spoon clean. I didn't have any mac cheese, and haven't been back since.